Hi everybody. Today we are going to look at how to use fraction bars to make equivalent fractions. This is for lesson 1-3 in our math books. So here in our first example, we are going to use fraction bars to find equivalent fractions to 2/3. I have 3 fraction bars for you. They are all showing 2/3 because they are the exact same amount of whole. They have 2 out of 3 pieces that are equally shaded. I'm going to leave the first one as 2/3. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm using my finger instead of a stylus because I don't know where mine is. So now I am going to look at the second bar and I want to know how to use the fraction bar to find a fraction equivalent to 2/3 but in sixths. So I have to first ask myself, what do I need to change about this fraction bar to make it sixths? Since there's 3 equal size pieces, I could split each of those 3 equal size pieces twice to make a total of sixths. So I am just going to draw as straight of a line as I can right down the middle of each of those pieces. Since I 2-split each bar, what I did was multiply each of them by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write 3 times 2 equals 6 for my denominators. And remember, with equivalent fractions, always, whatever you do to one, you have to do to the other. So since I multiplied the bottom by 2, I would multiply the top by 2. I'm actually solving this problem 2 different ways. I already have the equivalent fraction shaded because I didn't change the shading. Remember, equivalent fractions show the same amount using different fractions or different numbers. So the amount that's shaded wasn't changed, but because I modified the fraction bar, I have a different amount of shaded pieces out of a different amount of total pieces. So here I see 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces shaded out of 6 total pieces. There's my 5th and 6th that aren't shaded. And I could have solved that by multiplying 2 times 2 equals 4 as well. This is just one more model. For this last fraction bar, I am going to show 2/3 is equivalent to how many ninths? Again, the first question you should ask yourself is, how do I have to modify the fraction bar itself to show ninths? Since I have 3 pieces, each third should be split into 3 equal size pieces to make ninths. So I am going to split each fraction bar into thirds as equally as I can. Now again, I did not change any of the shaded pieces. It's still the exact same amount as it was originally, but I have a different number of pieces, just smaller size pieces. So my toolbar is actually over the first one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total pieces that are shaded out of 7, 8, 9 total pieces. My denominator already says that. You could have solved this simply by finding the multiplier. What do you multiply 3 by to get 9? Well, we know that that's 3. We already talked about that. Whatever you multiply the bottom by, you do the top to the same thing. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. Therefore, we have solved this equivalent fraction 2 different ways. Let's look at one more quick example. This time we're going to look at 3/5. The top bar, I'll leave 3/5. The next bar, I want to know how many tenths are equivalent to 3/5. So first question, how do you change the fraction bar itself to show tenths? Since I have 5 pieces and I want 10, 10 is twice as much, so each bar can be split in 2. I've just 2-split each of these pieces of the fraction bar. Then I can simply count the shaded pieces. My toolbar is over the fraction bars, so it's hard for me to show you that. Okay, there's 1. Oops. 2, 3, and my puppy seems to want to help me right now. 4, 5, 6. 6 total pieces, and we already know that there's 10 because that's how I modified my bar. 3/5 is equal to 6/10. In the last example, we are going to show 3/5 is equivalent to some 15ths. First question, how do you modify the fraction bar to show 15ths instead of fifths? Well, I know that 15 is 3 times as much as 5, so I would have to split each of the pieces 3 times to make 15ths. Now, these aren't going to be exactly equal because I am having trouble with my toolbar and a puppy that wants to bite my finger while I'm trying to do this for you. Okay, so now that we have split the toolbar, we can count the individual pieces. Underneath my toolbar, I'll just put a 1 there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 pieces. I did not change the shading in any way. It was kept the same the entire time. All I did was modify the bar, but I did not change the size of the fraction. That's what makes them equivalent. They are all the same size whole, the same exact amount is shaded, but when I modify the bar or change the bar, I am using smaller pieces and sometimes bigger pieces to show that same amount.